What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome back to my unit review series for Fire Emblem Heroes. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Groom Marth, and in this video I'll go over his builds, what blessing you should confer to him, some teammates that should be running with him, and some counters that you should watch out for. So let's begin.
What do you think? It's not odd, is it?
Groom Marth is a reward from Loki's Flames Tempest Trial, and he comes at 5-star and 4-star rarity. Looking at his stats, he's a pretty decent free unit. His high speed and good physical bulk are his biggest strengths, but his attack is low at base 31. Thankfully, he comes with Ardent Service Plus, which can be used to buff him for +4 attack if he's near an ally, and that effectively gives him 35 and 36 offensive spread. But if you replace his weapon and do not give him any kind of buffs, then his damage output is going to be quite underwhelming. That's his biggest flaw pretty much, but it can be covered with his weapon. His resistance is quite low, but his magical bulk isn't really all that terrible because of his decent HP pool. It's definitely workable. He actually has the highest speed for a Cavalier in the game as of right now, and it's a shame that you cannot have IVs on him to increase it further. He comes with Ardent Service Plus, which is a 14 might axe that gives Marth and his allies plus 400 attack buff if an ally is adjacent to Marth. So if Marth is away from his allies, he will not be giving himself the +4 attack buff either. This makes Marth a good support unit and helps him with his low attack. His slot B skill is Wings of Mercy, which does synergize well for a buff bot like him, and it's useful if you pair him up with other offensive units who can run Desperation. His slot C skill is Drive Attack, which does stack with his weapon to give his allies a total of +7 attack boost, and with Drive Attack Sacred Seal, it's +10 attack support, which is really strong. He can also boost speed and defense of his allies with his rally skill, and that makes him a really good free to play buff bot. So if you haven't really invested into Erica, then he is a fantastic buff bot. As for stat line, Spring Alphonse is his direct competition, who has got more attack than him naturally and comes with a better offensive weapon. A plus speed Spring Alphonse has got same speed as Marth, but Marth on the other hand has got a more supportive role, and with a self buff he could get the same attack as Alphonse. The thing is that Marth doesn't really have much competition for an Axe Cavalier because there's only 5 of them. Alphonse is just too rare, and he's a seasonal unit who's already gone, so you never know when he's going to be coming back on a legendary banner. And not a lot of people build Titania because of her low attack, and Frederick is the only common green Axe Cavalier with his Brave Axe and Sling Hammer set, and he outclasses Gunter. But Marth has a different role compared to him, so for a lot of people who didn't invest into Frederick, Marth might actually be their first Axe Cavalier, so he doesn't really feel redundant for this class. Overall, Marth is a solid free-to-play unit who is a great buff bot, and he's nice for Arena Assault because of his good speed and physical bulk. And being able to get Horse Emblem buffs is always a bonus, but if you decide to run him on a Horse Emblem team, then getting rid of his default weapon is definitely recommended for something more offensive. As of right now, Marth can only get 1 merge, and that 1 merge gives him +1 speed and +1 HP, and speed especially is very useful to him. You get 2 copies of Marth, so you could actually use the extra copy for fodder. Of course, Drive Attack can be stacked up with Drive Attack Sacred Seal, and that's really good on a buff bot, and you could run that on any unit actually that you want to use for support. And alternatively, you could also sacrifice him for Ardent Service Axe. If you use Flying Azura a lot outside of a Fire Emblem team, then she can be a good recipient of this weapon. She herself appreciates the attack buff, and she's a very potent support unit, and his art actually has a very wholesome reference. On his shoulder, the flower you see, it's actually the same flower which Bright Cheetah has in her bouquet, and Marth is also seen protecting that flower in his damage art, so that's definitely very wholesome. And Bright Cheetah and Groom Marth also share some of their voice lines and some other lines.
I wonder where the perfect place to hold a wedding is around here.
I wonder where the perfect place to hold a wedding is around here.
I know this is all just for fun, but someday... Well, a girl can dream, can't she?
Someday, when peace returns, I hope to have a wedding of my own.
May love triumph!
May love triumph!
For the Tempest Trial, which is going on right now, he's a pretty good auto-battling unit with his well-rounded stats and Tempest Trial buff. This build is a budget build for the people who are mainly going to be using him for Tempest Trial as a bonus unit, and afterwards don't really plan to use him that much. You want to run attack +3 for his slot A and bonfire, and with dual drive Sacred Seal he can support an ally who's a nuke, and that can help you complete maps faster. Loki is the final boss of this Tempest trial, and she has got a very high resistance, so Marth being able to hit on the physical side helps a lot, as a lot of the bonus units this time around are range units, and they struggle to do damage against Loki, and they are vulnerable to Gravity Ploy in her staff, which Marth is not. But still, Marth is going to be taking quite a beating if he takes the hit from Loki, and Marth has a pretty good synergy with Blade Tome Tharja, who's also a bonus unit in this Tempest Trials. Marth, because of being a buff bot with his weapon, has many options for Slot C and Sacred Seal to support his allies. Dual Drive is the easiest one, and Drive Speed and Drive Attack can be used for some speed and attack support. Home Speed and Defense Tactic is good for supporting Blade Tome allies, and for a more defense-oriented support, Drive Res, Drive Defense can be run, and you get attack from his weapon, so it's really good for supporting slow tanky units. You could also run Rally Defense and Res instead of his default Rally skill, and support an ally for +6 defense, +6 res, and +4 attack. Similarly, Dual Tactic can be used for larger buffs, and the last one is expensive with Speed Tactic. This allows him to provide fantastic offensive support. The choice for support depends on your team and how much you want to invest into Marth, so let's continue with his builds. This build is a standard Fury Desperation set, and Fury is nice with his well-rounded stats, and Desperation is quite perfect on a speedy unit like him. Going with Speed Refined to utilize his strength is definitely recommended. However, this set isn't really good for Tempest Trials, which is going on right now because of the Fury recoil damage, so if you plan to use him in Tempest Trials, you will have to have something else in slot A for the time being. The second set makes him into a blue check with Triangle Adept, which is quite useful for Arena Assault. Lancebreaker allows you to double and one-round kill units like Weary Fighter Effie, fast lance units like Nefni, Brave Lucina, and Shigure, and Moonbow is definitely necessary to one-round kill some plus and merge bulky lance units. This is something you can do with a lot of Tempest Trial units honestly who don't have access to IVs and you don't plan to invest into them heavily. You get them at 5 rarity, so there's no reason not to use them for Arena Assault. The third set for him uses a newly demoted unit 4-star Ares. You can run Brazen Attack Defense with Desperation, and he can hit 56 attack and 37 defense when in the Brazen range. This is certainly a good option for the people who want him to hit hard, and he's already quite fast, so he can focus on boosting his attack and defense and still not really lose all that much. It's worth noting that if you have an ally who can boost his speed, then you could replace Speed +3 Sacred Seal for something supportive like Drive Attack. The main problem with this set is that Brazen skills have a threshold condition, so on his first encounter when he's not taken any kind of damage, Marth is not going to be doing too much damage, and that could prevent some KOs, and a lot of times in Arena, a unit will only get to fight in one battle, so compared to something like Fury, which gives him attack right off the bat, it's less consistent, but the reward is bigger once you activate it. You need to run Speed +3 Sacred Seal so that you can hit 40 speed mark, and make best use out of Desperation because many times in Arena, 39 speed won't be enough, so boosting it a little bit with Speed +3 is definitely recommended, which means that you lose out on a support Sacred Seal. You can also run Brazen Attack and Speed, which is more offensive for this set, but it's really expensive as only Winter Robin has that. The fourth set is a really expensive set because of Defense Res Link, and it's a new skill, and it's a really good skill for buff bots like Marth, and using this, he can boost all stats of an ally, which is definitely very powerful. Defense Res Link gives the user the buff as well whenever he uses a movement skill, so using this, Marth can reach 45 defense and 26 resistance, which makes him quite bulky in the enemy phase. You want to use a bond skill like Attack Defense Bond because it has got really good synergy with Swap, and a buff bot like him prefers to stay near his allies, and since this is an enemy phase skill set, it's definitely nice. Quick Repose Sacred Seal is a must with this kind of defensive set, and there's actually a variant of this set with Attack Speed Bond, which is overall better because of how fast he can be, so with this set you want to focus on his speed and go with the Speed Refine. You can run Moonbow over Bonfire because not a lot of units will be able to double him like the previous set where he could charge up his Bonfire, so that's why Moonbow is preferred for one-round KOs. He can reach 42 defense and 32 res in the enemy phase, which is quite bulky with 45 HP, and the fact that he can reach 44 speed adds to his reliability. This is mainly for enemy phase as bond skills are easier to use in that phase and it's easier to position your units, and this set makes him into a fast tank who can support his allies really well, but it's definitely quite expensive. Now, I'll be going over the sets you should be running on him if you're going to be using him on a Horse Emblem team. If you're going to be using him on a Horse Emblem team, then Ardent Service should be replaced because it isn't really much of a use when he can easily give or receive emblem buffs, so a more offensive weapon is definitely much better for him. Giant Spoon is a strong weapon for a fast unit like him, so if you pulled a Bad Ivy Alphonse or you just like Marth more, you could definitely go for this set. Marth does have what it takes to utilize this weapon really well, and there's not really any other Axe Cavalier other than plus speed Ivy Spring Alphonse himself who can run this effectively. The next set includes Slaying Axe Plus with a standard Fury Desperation set. With Slaying Axe, he can proc Moonbow when he's in the Desperation range, and that is definitely strong with Horse Emblem buffs. You can also abuse Bonfire with this set because it will be a 2-turn cooldown special and it can be used to proc in one round, but not when he's in the Desperation range like Moonbow. Despite all of this, merged high HP bulky armor and dragon units can still survive Marth and take him out, and just like the Giant Spoon set, tanky units with guard skill will be a problem for him. And finally, he can run a Fire Sweep Axe set. As of making this video, it has not been released, but whenever it does, Marth is gonna be an excellent user of that weapon because of his high speed, and it would be disrespectful to Hero King Marth to not mention this set for future use. This is of course best used on a Horse Emblem team, and if you want, you could run Hit and Run for Slot B instead of the expensive Chill defense.
I vow victory!
Earth Blessing is definitely the best one as it gives him stat boost to his most important stats, and Legendary Ike is a free unit and Marth can check blue units for him, and Marth certainly appreciates the attack buff from Legendary Ike, and I can provide Marth with the defense tactic buff which can be useful to him for doing more bonfire damage. Female Grima can provide speed to Marth and take on ranged threats. Female Grima herself doesn't have a very high attack, so she can definitely use the plus 10 attack support from Marth. And you can also run Drive Defense and Drive Res or Defense and Res tactic combo to support Ike and Grima for their enemy phase. Fire Blessing can also be given to Marth if you're going to be using him on a Horse Emblem team with Ephraim, and Ephraim can check red units for Marth, and both of them are actually quite offensive units. Marth gets beefy with Ephraim's effect, but make sure you're running one of those Horse Emblem sets for Marth, because if you run a drive skill on him, then it won't go well with Ephraim's lone playstyle. Fiorm is another unit who has got good synergy with Marth and can check red units for him, and also provide him with the drive attack support and also give him the speed buff from her legendary effect, and Marth in return can provide some attack buff to Fiorm because she herself doesn't have a very high attack. But both Ike and Fiorm are free units, and Ike's attack is going to be more useful to Marth, and Ike in general is a stronger unit than Fiorm, but still, both Ike and Fiorm are good options.
For those I love!
Nukes like Shirshi, Lilina, and colorless nuke like Cordelia really appreciate the plus 10 attack support which Marth can give with his dual drive attack and his weapon. If you run Hone Speed and Defense Tactic combo, you can support Blade Tomb units with Marth, and Marth cannot really get past a lot of the common red units, so having a strong blue unit can definitely help as an ally. And finally, other offensive spur bots like Marth and Lucina can assist Groom Marth offensively, and Marth can support them back. Common powerful red units like these are going to be a problem for Marth in arena, and dragons targeting his low resistance can also destroy him, and they are very bulky. Marth can reach pretty high HP himself, but armored units with higher HP and Panic Ploy can be an annoyance to a buff bot like him, and he does depend on his own buffs, so that's why it can be a problem. Even if Marth has got Horse Emblem buffs, some really bulky green tanks can still stop him and proceed to take him out, and you should definitely watch out for these units. So that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, then please be sure to leave a like and share this video with your friends who really like Groom Marth. And if you haven't already, then make sure to subscribe for more Fire Emblem Heroes content. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.